Whispers of the ether. The galaxy was old, older than human history could ever imagine. Across thousands of stars, alien empires spoke of a force they called the ether. Some called it energy, some called it spirit, others swore it was the breath of the universe itself. But all of them agreed on one thing: no species could ever touch it. Ships had vanished when they tried. Worlds had been burned when they reached for it. To the galaxy, the ether was untouchable. It was myth. It was danger. It was death. And so when humans began to study it, the galaxy only laughed. Primitive creatures, they said. They do not know what they are reaching for. They will vanish like the others. But humanity had always been different. Where others feared the unknown, humans stepped closer. Where others gave up, humans tried again. And in the deep silence of Earth's outer labs, far from the spying eyes of alien empires, a small group of scientists continued their work. Dr. Alara Morn stood at the edge of the glowing chamber. Her hands shook as she read the readings on a console. For 10 years, she had searched for this moment, following numbers, equations, and whispers in physics that no alien mind could understand. Her voice cracked as she spoke into the comms. The ether pulse is stable. Repeat, stable. In orbit above Saturn's rings, a test ship floated in silence. The crew inside was only 3: Captain Jorine Hall, a pilot with nerves of steel, Specialist Kale, a quiet engineer, and Lieutenant Arya, who had volunteered for the mission, even knowing it might be her last. Command. This is Hale, the captain's voice echoed. Engines are quiet. The core is humming. Feels alive. Copy, Alara replied. Her throat was dry. Initiate first contact with the ether. The ship's core flared with strange light, bending shadows in the cabin. The walls seemed to breathe. Joran felt a weight pressing against his chest, like the universe itself was staring at him. Energy spike, Kale muttered. His voice was trembling. This isn't normal. It's never normal, Joran said. He forced a smile, though sweat ran down his face. Hold on. The ship vanished. Every alarm in mission control screamed. Screens went blank. Illyra's heart dropped. No, no, no. For 30 long seconds, there was nothing. Silence. An empty void. The galaxy had been right. All along humans were fools. The ship was gone. But then the console flickered. A signal burst through the noise. This is Hale, the captain's voice returned, steady and calm. We're back. But you need to see this. The ship reappeared above Saturn, but it was no longer the same. Its hull glowed faintly, etched, with patterns no one had painted. The stars around it seemed to bend, as if space itself wanted to follow the ship. And the crew? Their eyes shone faintly, reflecting colors that had no name. What happened? Alara whispered. We touched it, Arya said, her voice soft and almost reverent. The ether, it's real. And it let us in, all across Earth's secret. Labs, silence filled the rooms. No one moved, no one breathed. Humanity had done what no empire, no ancient race, no mighty fleet had ever achieved. They had touched the ether. But the moment was not. Silent everywhere. In the far halls of the galactic council, alarms rang. Reports arrived from hidden watchers near Earth. Alien leaders gathered, eyes wide, voices sharp. The humans are reckless, hissed a scaled ambassador. They will destroy themselves, muttered a cold-blooded strategist. No, said another, trembling. Do you not see? They succeeded. They have entered the ether. Fear spread like wildfire. For centuries, the ether had been a wall no one could cross. Now, a young race barely centuries into the stars had broken through. Some leaders demanded immediate war. Crush them now, before they master it. Others whispered of watching, learning, stealing what humans had found. But deep inside, every one of them felt the same cold truth. Humanity had changed the balance of power forever. On Earth, Alara stared at the glowing readings. She could not hear the alien voices across the stars. She could not feel their fear. But she felt something. Else-hope. She leaned toward the microphone, speaking slowly. "Captain Hall, tell me, what did it feel like?" There was a long pause. Then the pilot spoke. It felt like the universe was watching, like it knew our name. And then it smiled. Alara shivered. She knew what that meant. The ether was not just a force. It was alive. And for the first time in history, it had spoken to humanity. Fear in the Council of the Galactic Council Chamber was a hall of endless glass and silver stone. Stars glittered outside, framed by towers of light. It was a place where thousands of voices had argued for centuries. But now, silence hung heavy. Every delegate, from the reptilian Karth to the insectoid Vale, stared at the glowing screen at the center of the chamber. On it was a human ship, faintly shining with marks of the ether. The recording showed the impossible, the ship vanishing, then returning with space itself, bending around it. No one dared to speak first. Fear tightened their throats. At last, the Grand Arbiter, a tall creature of pale blue skin and golden robes, raised his staff. His voice was steady, but even he trembled. "This recording is real?" A scout officer bowed. His wings twitched. Nervously, "Yes, Arbiter. Our hidden probes around the Terran system confirmed it. The humans have done what all of us failed to do. They have entered the ether." A hiss spread through the chamber. Anger, fear, denial. "They are primitives," one shouted. "They should not have this power." Another snapped. "They will doom us all if they awaken what sleeps in the ether." The voices rose, colliding. Like storms. Some called for war, others for immediate quarantine, others for silence. But one word echoed louder than all the rest: fear. The Veil speaker clicked its mandibles. "We tried for ages to touch the ether. Entire fleets vanished. Planets turned to ash. How did these humans succeed?" A scaled ambassador of the Karth pounded his claw on the table. "Because they are reckless, they run headlong into danger. They never stop. They claw at walls until cracks appear. They do not respect the rules of the galaxy. And now their foolishness has opened a door that should remain closed." The Arbiter listened, his expression unreadable. "If they have touched the ether, then it will change them. Perhaps it has already begun. We must ask, what are the humans now?" The chamber fell silent. That question burned in every mind. A small figure rose from the shadows of the hall. The Thrin ambassador, a thin, bird-like alien, adjusted his cloak and leaned on his staff. His species had lived for 20,000 years, longer than most empires combined. His eyes glittered with ancient memory. "I have seen this before." He croaked. "Long ago, when the Zur Dominion reached for the ether. They did not touch it, but they came close, and it drove them mad. Their worlds are dust now. Their name is forgotten. The ether does not give without price." The words chilled the chamber. "So, the humans will fall as well?" Someone asked. Old Thrin shook his head. "Perhaps. Or perhaps the ether has chosen them." That suggestion was worse than war. Gasps filled the chamber. If the ether chose a species, if it allowed them to walk where no one else could, then humanity was no longer just another rising power. They were something greater, something terrifying. The Arbiter struck his staff again. "Enough. The Council must decide. Do we destroy them now, before they spread this infection? Or do we watch and wait?" Debates raged. Some demanded fleets to Earth immediately, to burn humanity before their power grew. Others whispered of spies, of stealing the secrets for themselves. A few, very few, argued for peace. but none could erase the truth. The galaxy was afraid. Far away on Earth, humanity did not know of these debates. They were celebrating Dot in mission control. Dr. Ilara Morn listened again to the crew's report. Captain Halal described the impossible visions. Worlds of fire and crystal, rivers of light, voices without mouths. Specialist Kale admitted he had felt something touch his mind, something vast, but it did not harm him. Lieutenant Arya whispered that she had heard music, faint but endless, the heartbeat of the stars. Ilara's team wrote down every word. But, in the quiet of her heart, she knew this was not science anymore. It was something deeper, something dangerous. She looked out the window at Earth's night sky. Humanity had touched the ether, and the galaxy was trembling because of it. But she wondered, should humanity tremble too? In the council chamber, as the voices clashed, the arbiter finally raised his hand. We shall watch. We shall not strike. Yet, but mark my words, if humans rise too far, if they awaken what sleeps in the ether, then their world will burn before the galaxy falls. The vote was cast. War was delayed, but only delayed. And across the stars, the whispers of fear grew. Louder, the galaxy had seen humanity touch the ether. Now, the galaxy would wait to see what humanity became. The sound beyond stars, the first human ship to touch the ether had returned, but the crew was not the same. Captain Halai stood at the podium inside the United Earth Assembly. His face was pale, his eyes sunken, but his voice carried weight. Went beyond light, beyond time, he said slowly, as if each word was heavy. And in the silence, we heard it, a sound. The hall stirred. Leaders, scientists, generals, and civilians leaned forward. A sound? Hale nodded. It was not a voice, not a machine, not an echo of our own minds. It was music, a song woven into the fabric of space itself. He looked at his crew. Kale clenched his fists, jaw tight. Arya, the youngest of them, had tears in her eyes. She whispered, "It's still inside me. I can still hear it." The assembly froze. Dr. Ella Ramorn, watching from the front row, stood. "Explain, Lieutenant. What do you mean?" Arya's voice shook. "When we were in the ether, I heard the song everywhere. It wasn't just sound, it was alive. It wrapped around me like light. And when we came back, it didn't leave." She pressed her hand to her chest. "It's here. It's beating inside me." The hall erupted. Some shouted fear, others demanded proof. Generals whispered of weapons. Scientists argued about hallucinations. But Ilara did not move. She studied Arya with eyes wide in wonder. This was no accident. Humanity hadn't just entered the ether. The ether had entered humanity. Far away, on the other side of the galaxy. The council listened in secret. Their spies had stolen recordings of Hale's speech. The alien delegates sat in darkness as Arya's words played. "She carries it inside her," hissed the Karth ambassador. "The humans are not only touching the ether, they are bringing it back." The insectoid veil shivered. If the sound grows in them, it will change them. It could make them stronger than us all. We must act now. But the old Thryn shook his feathered head. "No, you do not understand. The sound is older than the stars. It is not a weapon. It is not a tool. It is a test." The chamber grew, cold at his words. On Earth, Ilara brought Arya into the lab. Machines scanned her body, her mind, her very heartbeat. And the results were terrifying. Her cells glowed faintly when exposed to ether radiation. Her brain lit up with patterns no human had ever shown. And inside her, pulsing like a hidden star, was something that no one could explain, a frequency. A sound that did not stop. Late at night, when the lab was quiet, Ilara leaned close to listen to the recordings. At first, it was faint, almost like wind. Then it grew clearer, a low hum, a rising note. Then threads of melody twisting together, building into something vast and endless, the sound of the ether. Her hands shook, her chest tightened. For a moment, she felt it too, an emotion she could not name, a mix of awe and terror. It was as if the universe itself was breathing through her, speakers, and she understood what Hale had meant. This was not science. This was revelation, but not everyone saw it that way. General Corin of the Earth Defense Command slammed his fist on the table during a high-level meeting. This is not music. This is invasion. If this thing lives inside our people, it could spread. It could take control. We must be ready to fight it. Hale's jaw tightened. General, with respect, you cannot fight the universe. Corin glared. Then we will fight the humans who let it inside. The room went cold. That night, Lieutenant Arya walked alone on the roof of the facility. She stared up at the stars, listening to the sound inside her. Tears streamed down her face, but she was smiling, because in the music she felt something. Not fear, not control. Hope. She whispered into the night, not knowing if anyone or anything could hear her. What are you trying to tell us? And in the silence of the sky, she thought she felt the stars pulse in reply. But in the dark beyond human sight, the Council was moving fleets, quietly, slowly, preparing. They feared the sound. Because if humanity learned to use it, if the sound was truly part of them now, the galaxy would never be the same. The first awakening Arya did not sleep that night. The sound was louder now. It pulsed inside her like a second heartbeat. At first, she thought it was a burden. But as she lay awake, she realized something terrifying. It was trying to guide her. She closed her eyes. Images flickered in her mind. Not dreams, not memories, something else. She saw galaxies burning, armadas clashing, civilizations falling into silence. And always, at the edge of everything, a sound rising like a warning bell. She gasped and sat up, clutching her chest. It's showing me the future, she whispered. At the same time, Dr. Ilara was in her lab, replaying the recordings again and again. But tonight, something strange happened. As the sound filled the speakers, the glass on her desk began to tremble. Papers lifted into the air. The lights flickered. She froze. This wasn't just music. It was energy. She hit record, her hands shaking. The sound is manipulating matter. This changes everything. But before she could continue, alarms blared. Across the base, guards ran through the halls. Doors slammed shut, and a soldier shouted into his comm, "Lieutenant Arya, she's glowing." In the courtyard, a crowd had gathered. Arya stood barefoot on the grass, her skin faintly shining as though starlight poured through her veins. The sound hummed from her body, deep and low, vibrating through the ground. Soldiers raised their weapons in panic. "Stand down." Hale barked, pushing through them. His eyes locked on Arya. "What's happening to you?" Arya shook her head, trembling. I can't stop it. It's not me. The sound, it's waking something inside me." The grass around her swayed, though there was no wind. Pebbles lifted into the air, orbiting her body like tiny moons. For a long moment, everyone froze. Then the lights around the base exploded. In sparks, the Council saw it all. Their hidden probes broadcasted the event across the galaxy. Alien leaders watched in silence as the human girl shone like a living star. The Karth ambassador hissed, "It has begun. The sound is rewriting them." The insectoid Vale slammed his clawed hand on the table. "This cannot be allowed. If the humans awaken fully, they will surpass us all." But the old Thryn shook his feathers again. His voice was low, heavy with meaning. No, this is the way of the ether. It chooses. It tests. It reshapes. The humans were not cursed. They were chosen. The chamber filled with fear. For in all their long history, no other species had carried the sound beyond the veil. Back on Earth, chaos spread. News feeds carried shaky footage of Arya glowing under the night sky. Some called her blessed. Others called her cursed. Religious leaders claimed she was a prophet. Militaries whispered she was a weapon docked in one city. Crowds knelt and prayed to her image. In another, mobs burned human science centers, demanding she be destroyed before she brought doom. And through it all, Arya sat inside a sealed room, shaking, whispering to herself, "I don't want this. I didn't ask for this." But the sound inside her answered with a deep chord that made the walls vibrate. And in that vibration, she felt words that were not words. "You are the beginning." Halle entered the room. He sat across from her, his face calm but his eyes full of storm. "Arya, listen to me. Whatever this is, it's not your fault. But the world is changing because of you. You have to decide how to face it." Her voice broke. "I don't want to face it. I just want to be normal." Halle leaned closer, his voice steady. "Normal is gone. You carry something greater now. Maybe dangerous, maybe beautiful. But either way, you're not alone." She looked at him, tears in her glowing eyes. For the first time since it began, she didn't feel like she was falling apart, but General Corrin saw it differently. In a hidden chamber beneath the base, he spoke with his officers. His words were sharp, heavy with fear. "She is no longer human. She is a threat. If we wait, she becomes unstoppable. We must control her now or end her." The officers shifted nervously. One finally spoke. "And if the sound spreads?" Corrin's jaw tightened. "Then we burn it out of them. Before the galaxy burns us first." That night, Arya dreamed again. But this time, the vision was clearer. She saw alien fleets moving toward Earth, their weapons glowing, their banners raised. And above them all, a single note of the sound rose into the sky, breaking ships apart like glass. She woke with a scream. Hall rushed to her side, grabbing her hands. "What did you see?" Arya whispered, her voice shaking. "They're coming. The galaxy is afraid of us. And the sound, it's telling me. The first war is already on its way." The room went silent. Halle stared at her. Elara covered her mouth in shock. The first awakening had come, and with it the first shadow of war. The war that waits the world did not wake gently. By morning, every screen across Earth carried the same message. Humanity has touched the ether. The galaxy will not remain silent. The words came from the Galactic Council, broadcast on stolen frequencies. Their tone was clear fear disguised as warning. Nations panicked. Some demanded peace talks. Others ordered their fleets to prepare for war. And in hidden chambers, generals whispered the truth. Humanity had become too dangerous to be ignored. Arya sat in her sealed quarters, staring at her hands. They still faintly glowed, as if some star had chosen her as its vessel. She flexed her fingers and felt the sound hum through her veins like lightning trapped in her blood. Halle entered the room quietly. "You haven't eaten." She shook her head. "Every time I close my eyes, I see them. Fleets, millions of ships. They're already moving." Halle placed a ration pack on the table. "Then we need to move faster." Meanwhile, Dr. Alara was called before Earth's military council. The room was filled with shadows leaders from different nations, their faces cold and tired. "Doctor," one said sharply, "you've studied this sound longer than anyone. What is happening to the girl?" Elara hesitated. She thought of Arya's glowing skin, the floating stones, the trembling walls. She isn't just hearing the sound anymore. She's becoming part of it. The Aether has chosen her as a bridge. A bridge to what? A general demanded. Alara lowered her voice. To power we don't understand. Power that could destroy or save entire civilizations. The room fell silent. Some saw salvation. Others saw annihilation not far away. The council debated in their grand chamber of crystal and steel. Projections of human ships hovered above them, primitive compared to theirs, yet now wrapped in danger. The insectoid veil slammed his claw again. We cannot wait. If the humans awaken fully, they will outgrow us all. Strike first. The Karth hissed in agreement, burned their world, and their line. But the Thrin Elder shook his feathered crown. You fools! Every species that touched the Aether changed the stars. If we destroy them, we destroy the next chapter of creation. The chamber filled with shouting, claws scraping, voices echoing. But beneath it all, one truth grew louder. Fleets were already preparing. War was not a question anymore. It was a countdown. Back on Earth, Hale trained Arya in secret. They met in the old hangar, empty but for rusting ships. Focus, Hale said, tossing a metal sphere at her. Don't fear it. Use it. The sphere spun in the air. Arya lifted her hand. The sound thrummed through her bones. The sphere froze mid-air, spinning against gravity. Then, with a sharp pulse, it shattered into dust. Arya gasped. I didn't mean to. Hale stepped closer. Doesn't matter. You did it. The Aether listens to you. But what if I lose control? Hale's eyes hardened. Then the galaxy will eat us alive. You can't lose control, Arya. Not even once. News spread faster than bullets. Across the stars, colonies of other species saw the recordings. Some trembled, some cheered. Small worlds oppressed by galactic empires whispered. Hope. Maybe the humans will change everything. But in the dark between stars, alien warships lit their engines. Banners of war unfurled. Armies gathered. The council's words were no longer speeches. They were commands. The invasion would begin soon. Alara stormed into the hangar one night, breathless, her tablet glowing with intercepted signals. There. Coming, she whispered. Not weeks from now. Days. The first fleets are already in warp. Arya's heart raced. How many? Ilara's voice shook. Enough to erase a planet. Hale clenched his fists. Then let them come. Alara turned to him, furious. You don't understand. Humanity isn't ready for this. Our ships are toys compared to theirs. Our weapons are nothing. Arya looked down at her glowing hands. Slowly, her fear turned into something else. Determination. Maybe we don't need ships. In her dreams, the sound grew clearer. It wasn't just noise anymore. It was language. It spoke in tones older than suns. Rise. Defend. Change. She saw visions. Humans standing against fleets. Their hands raised, their voices joined. The sound flowed through them like rivers of light. Alien ships shattered. Worlds trembled. When? She woke. Her pillow was wet with tears. Not from fear. From the weight of destiny. The war drums echoed louder every day. Alien fleets massed at the borders of human space. Scouts vanished. Colonies reported shadows moving through the void. General Corrin, in his secret chamber, sharpened his orders. If she loses control, we kill her. Humanity must survive, even if it means silencing the one the Aether chose. But Hale made a silent vow that same night. Standing guard outside Arya's room, he whispered to himself, I won't let them touch her, not the aliens, not even our own. And high above Earth, in the cold silence of space, the first enemy fleet flickered into existence. Thousands of ships, weapons glowing, engines burning like stars. The war had not started yet, but it was already here. The fire in the sky, the night above Earth, was no longer black. It was alive, burning with fire and metal. The first alien fleet had arrived. Thousands of warships blotted out the stars, their shadows stretching across the planet. Their weapons glowed with colors humanity had never seen before: sickly green, burning violet, crackling blue. The sky itself seemed to tremble. Every city on Earth froze. Children pressed against windows. Soldiers stood ready at their stations. Farmers stared up from their fields. And across the world, people whispered the same question: is this the end? Arya stood in the hangar, her skin glowing faintly in the dark. She could feel them, the ships, the weapons, even the fear of the soldiers outside. The ether carried everything to her, like whispers in a storm. Hale entered, helmet under his arm, armor gleaming with old scars. "They're in orbit," he said simply. Arya swallowed hard. "So it begins." "They'll start with bombardment," Hale warned. "Level the defenses. Break our spirit. If you're going to use whatever that thing inside you is, now's the time." Her eyes met his. "And if I can't?" Hollow gave a small, grim smile. "Then Earth burns." On the command deck of the alien flagship, Admiral Vale stretched his insectoid claws across the controls. His voice hissed through the fleet's channel. "Humans are fragile. Their machines are weak. End this quickly." The order spread like wildfire. Weapons primed. Engines roared. Then the sky opened fire. The first beams struck Earth's orbital. Defenses. Dozens of human satellites exploded, their fragments burning across the atmosphere like dying stars. Space stations shattered. Small defense fleets were torn apart, ships splitting open like glass under a hammer. On Earth, alarms screamed, cities shook. The ground itself seemed to cry out as shockwaves rattled through the sky. But through it all, one figure stood unmoving: Arya. She raised her hand. The glow around her grew brighter, spreading across her skin like liquid fire. The sound filled her ears, her mind, her heart. "Do not run. Do not fear. Rise." The words weren't hers. They came from the ether. "Arya." Alara shouted from the hangar entrance, "You can't go out there. They'll tear you apart." But Hale only watched her, his hand tightening on his rifle. He saw it: the way the air bent around her, the way loose stones trembled near her feet. "She isn't going out there," Hale whispered. "She's bringing it here." Above Earth, the alien fleet prepared its second volley. Hundreds of massive cannons glowed, their light gathering into deadly streams. If fired, they would rip through cities, oceans, and even the crust itself. Humanity would be finished. But before the order could be given, the fleet's sensors screamed. A wave of invisible force rolled out from Earth. Silent, endless. Every alien ship shuddered. Weapons sputtered. Engines flickered. In the hangar, Arya's eyes snapped open, glowing pure white. She lifted her arms. The sound thundered through the stars. Suddenly, ships fell from formation. Alien captains panicked, shouting commands that no longer worked. Whole weapon systems shut down as if some unseen hand had silenced them. The great fleet trembled. And then, one ship cracked apart. Not from a missile, not from a bullet, from the sound itself. Its hull bent, twisted, and split open like paper. Admiral Vale roared. "What is this? What have they unleashed?" But no answer came, because the humans had unleashed something the galaxy had not seen in centuries. On Earth, crowds gathered in the streets, staring at the sky. They saw alien warships burning, breaking, falling into the ocean. They saw light streaming upward from the single point where Arya stood. For the first time, the world did not tremble in fear. It trembled in awe. Arya fell to her knees, gasping, sweat pouring down her face. Hull rushed to her side. You did it, he said breathlessly. You stopped them. Arya shook her head weakly. No, I only slowed them. The fleet is still vast, and more are coming. Hale helped her up. Then, we fight again. In the galactic chamber, the council erupted into chaos. Messages from the fleet were broadcast ships lost, commanders dead, weapons silenced. The Thrin elder spread his wings in shock. Impossible. They are the Aether's chosen. But the Veil slammed his claws down. No, they are monsters. If they can do this now, what will they become in a century? We cannot retreat. We must burn them completely. The order was given. Call the second wave. Stronger fleets, deadlier weapons. Entire empires would march against humanity. Back on. Earth, Arya stared into the sky. Her glow dimmed, her strength barely holding. But inside, she heard the sound whisper again. This is only the beginning, God, and for the first time, she wasn't afraid. She looked at Hale and Alara. Then we'll show them. The galaxy wanted to test us. Now they'll see what humans become when pushed to the edge. Above, the flames of battle still burned. Alien wrecks drifted in the void. But more shadows gathered at the edge of the system, waiting. The first war had begun. The real one was coming. The voice of humanity, the stars, burned with war. Alien fleets gathered at the edge of the solar system, hundreds, then thousands of ships. They came from empires that once hated each other, now united by one goal. Crush Earth before it rose too high. The galaxy was certain. Humanity was finished, but Earth was silent. Too silent. On the ruins of the old council chamber, leaders from across Earth stood together for the first time in centuries. Soldiers, presidents, admirals, scientists, they all turned toward the central platform. Arya stood there, her eyes faintly glowing with the last trace of the ether. Beside her, Hal wore battered armor, his rifle slung across his back. More fleets are coming, Alara whispered. If we don't answer now, they'll burn us out of history. Arya raised her head. Then we answer, not with fear, not with begging, but with truth. High above, the alien admirals prepared their final strike. They had no doubts. Their fleets outnumbered humanity 1,000 to 1. But then, every ship's comms flickered. Static filled their channels. And through the interference came a voice human, steady, unbroken. Arya's voice. This is Earth, she said. Her words carried across stars, translated into every tongue, every frequency. Even in alien hives and royal courts, they heard her. For centuries, you looked at us as weak. You saw only a small blue world. You thought we were children, fighting among ourselves. You called us backward, fragile, unworthy. Her voice grew stronger, carried by the sound. Even those who tried to shut the channel found they could not. But now you have seen. You have felt the ether. You have witnessed what happens when humanity is pushed. We do not break. We rise. In the alien fleets, soldiers froze. Some trembled. Some raged. But none could look away. Arya's voice became thunder. You think. You know power. You have ruled for ages with your empires, your fleets, your cruelty. But power is not fear. Power is not domination. Power is standing when the galaxy wants you on your knees. Power is choosing to fight when you should already be dead. On Earth, the people roared. Crowds filled cities, shouting her name, shouting. One word that carried across oceans. Humanity. The cry spread unstoppable. Even in the deepest bunkers, even on broken battlefields, humanity shouted as one. Admiral Vale slammed his claws against the console. End this broadcast. Fire everything. But his crew faltered. For the first time, they hesitated. The sound filled their minds, twisting their claws, freezing their hands, because the Aether had chosen Earth. Arya raised her hand to the sky. Behind her, engines roared. The first human supercarriers rose into orbit, new massive ships, born in secret, powered by the Aether itself. Their hulls glowed with strange energy, bending space around them. Alien fleets scanned them in shock. These were not warships built by fragile primitives. These were weapons that rivaled the gods. Hale grinned. Now they'll understand. Arya's voice shook the galaxy one final time. Leave now, or learn the truth of humanity's fire. The alien fleets hesitated. Empires that had never feared anyone now faced a choice. Attack and risk extinction, or retreat and let the memory of Earth burn in their nightmares forever. One ship fired a single, massive beam. It never landed. The Aether flared, and the supercarriers answered. Their cannons roared, brighter than suns. The beam split apart. The alien ship was torn in half, drifting dead into the void. The galaxy fell silent. On the council world, the Elder whispered. They touched the Aether, and it obeyed. Even the proudest empires began to retreat. Ship by ship, fleet by fleet, they turned away, not out of mercy, but out of fear. Fear of what humanity could become. When the last alien fleet left the system, Earth erupted. Cities lit with fireworks. Soldiers embraced in the streets. Children shouted into the night. For the first time, humanity stood not as victims, but as the voice of Power. Arya collapsed, her glow dimming, the strain of the Aether nearly consuming her. Hale caught her, holding her steady. You did it, he said softly. She shook her head, weak but smiling. We did it. Humanity did it. Hale looked at the sky, where wreckage still burned. They'll be back, Arya nodded. And when they come, they won't face a frightened world. They'll face a united one. Above Earth, the new supercarriers drifted in silence, their lights like suns. The galaxy would remember this day, not as the day Earth almost died, but the day humanity's voice shook the stars. The day the galaxy finally learned true power.